Okay, today we're going to be looking at two different standards. It's MAFS 5 and F11, which we know is add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. The second one, and harder one we're going to be dealing with, is MAFS 5 and F12. And this specifically has us serve word problems, including addition and subtraction of fractions referring to the same whole, including cases of unlike denominators by using visual fractions. Okay. Now, I keep talking to you about tape diagrams. This is an essential spot where you need to use tape diagrams. You will not be able to track and follow the problems if you do not. Okay, so on our Module 3, Lesson 7 objective is you will solve two-step word problems. Not just one step, that means two-step. That means without the tape diagram, it's going to be hard to see that second step. Essential question. What are strategies for solving two-step word problems involving fractions? That's what you'll answer when you get to the and finally section. Now let's start. The first thing is we're going to read. Now I usually like to read the first time just for getting the gist of it. We're not trying to pick any numbers out. We're not trying to do anything else. We're just reading the problem. It says George weeded 1/5 of the garden, and Summer weeded some too. When they were finished, 2/3 of the garden still needed to be weeded. What fraction of the garden did Summer weed? Okay, so that was basically the gist of it. We know two people are weeding the garden. One person weeded 1/5, another one weeded some too. We don't know exactly how much. And when they got done, there was 2/3 of it. And they want to know how much Summer actually weeded. So, okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a tape diagram. And anytime you have a tape diagram, you start off with the total. And that's up top here. Now the top of it, we're looking at a garden. You know, how many gardens? One garden. So one whole garden. So we're looking for one. Now it said that George here weeded 1/5 of the garden. And this was George. Then it said that Summer weeded some too, but it didn't say what. It said when they were finished, 2/3 of the garden was left to be weeded. And wants to know how much did Summer weed? So as we can see, what we need to do here, if we take 1 and we add 1/5 plus 2/3, and then subtract that from 1, we'll be able to find out what our answer is. So in order to add 1/5 and 1/3, we need to create equivalent fractions. So we're going to start off here with 1/5 and 2/3. So I'm going to take my fifths. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to shade in 1/5. Actually, let me get a different color and shade that in. Now I'm going to come over and I'm going to make my 2/3. Now I'm going to shade in my 2/3. Now I'm going to take my thirds and I'm going to combine them with my fifths. And I'm going to take my fifths and combine them with my thirds. So now we have, instead of 1/5, we can see this is equal to 3, which are shaded in, and 3 by 5 is going to give us 15. Plus, and now we can see we have 10 shaded in over here out of a total of 15. So we have 13/15. So we've just simplified this now to 1 minus 13/15. And we know 1 is equal to 15/15. So 15/15 minus 13/15 gives us 2/15. So Summer did 2/15. Is that correct? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a tape diagram. And our total on this one is 1/2 because it's all the money she had. Then we're going to say here that 1/3 of her money was spent on pens. Then we have 1/2 of her money was spent on markers. And then 1/8 was spent on pencils. And it wants to know how much your money was left. So that's what we're looking for. So in order to solve for what was left, we're going to end up with 1/2 minus, and we've got to add all this money that she spent together and subtract it from the whole. Well, the first thing we have to do is add two fractions together. And we could add any two fractions we wanted together, but let's go ahead and start with 1/3 and 1/2. Here's our 1/3, here's our 1/2. We're going to split this one into thirds. We're going to split this one into half. Now we're going to shade them in. I'm going to shade 1/3 in. And I'm shading 1/2 in. Okay. Now we're going to combine our models. Take my halves to my thirds to my halves. And I can see here now that I have 2 out of 6 shaded plus 3 out of 6 shaded. So that means we have 5, 6. So this problem now is actually 1 minus 5/6 plus 1/8 because we just combined 1/2, added or got the sum for 1/3 and 1/2. So now we have to add 5, 6, and 1/8. So let's build another model to make this one a little larger because this is going to be a larger denominator. So here's our 5, 6, and our 1/8. So let's go ahead and make our 6. Now on this side I'm going to make my 8s. I'm going to have to make one more 8 in there. Now we're going to shade them in. This one here had 5, 6. Oh, not black. There's 1, 2, and we're just going to have 3, 4, 5. We're shading 5 of the 6 in. Okay, so we got 5 of 6 shaded in. On this one, we have 1/8 shaded in. All right. Now that we got them shaded in, we're going to combine them, which means we're going to take our 8s to our 6. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now I'm going to take my 6 to my 8s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we can see over here for our 5, 6, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going across that are shaded and 8 going down. So this is going to end up being 5 times 8, which is 40, out of a total of 6 by 8, which is 48. So 40 48s. Now on our second model, we have 8 that are shaded in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh, excuse me, 6. 6 out of 48 that's shaded. So now we have 40, 46, 48s. So when we write this now, we can see we have 1/2 minus 46
48. Now we know 1 whole is actually equal to 48/48. So I'd only have to add 2 48s in order to make it a whole. So 2 48s is what was left of her money. Shelby bought a 2-ounce tube of blue paint. She used 2/3 ounce of paint to water, 3/5 ounce to paint the sky, and some to paint a flag. After that, she had 2/15 ounce left. How much paint did Shelby use to paint her flag? Now, there's a lot going on there. So, first thing we're going to do is we need to do a tape diagram so we can grasp what's going on. First off, we're going to label our total. And our total were 2 ounces of paint. Now, we can go through it and we can see that she used 2/3 of an ounce, 2/3, and that was for water. Then it said she used 3/5 ounce in order to paint the sky. And then she did some for the flag, but we don't know how much that is. And when she got done, she had 2/15 left. Now, we're looking for how much did she paint on the flag. So now that we have it all down, we can see that we need to solve for the flag by doing 2 minus the sum of 2/3 minus 3/5 minus 2/15. Now I'm going to look at these and I can see that I'm going to start off with my 2/3 because I'm going to add, excuse me, but they got to be the sum of all these. So we're going to add 2/3 to 3/5. So here we are, we're split them into thirds. This way we're going to split them into fifths. Now we're going to do our shading. 2/3. This is 3/5. Now we're going to combine our models. Take my fifths to my thirds. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my third to my fifths. Now this one here, we can see this is a 2 by 5, so this can be 10/15 plus this is a 3 by 3 to be 9/15. So it's going to equal 19/15. Well, now what this looks like, that's 2 minus, and we have 19/15, excuse me, plus 2/15. Now we have common denominators, so we can add them together. We got 2 minus 19 plus 2 is 21/15. Now, we could do this a couple different ways because now we got 2 minus 21/15. I can convert 1 to a mixed number and subtract it from 2, or I can take my 2 and turn it into a fraction. Well, I know 1 whole would be 15/15. So 2 wholes would end up being 30/15. And you can see that was a lot easier. 30/15 minus 21/15 leaves me with 9/15. Now this could be simplified. For most parts that is a good answer, but the way I showed you to do this algebraically, but I'm finding a common denominator. I see it's 3. I'm going to do 3 times 3, which is 9, and 3 times 5, which is 15. I'm multiplying and dividing, so they cancel out, and I have 3/5 left. So correct answers would be 9/15 or 3/5 if they asked you to simplify. Jim sold 3/4 gallon of lemonade. Dwight sold him lemonade too. Together they sold 1 5/12 gallons. Who sold more lemonade, Jim or Dwight? How much more? So let's do our tape diagram so we can tell what's going on. There's hidden questions in these that without a tape diagram are hard to see. So first off, we know the total amount of lemonade they both sold was 1 5/12. Then we have 3/4 gallon. That's what Jim sold. Now we don't know how much Dwight sold. Okay, and that's what we're looking for. So by looking at this, we have 1 5/12 minus 3/4. So first, let's create an equivalent fraction. Now, as you can see, this is getting to 12, so this is going to be pretty rough on this one. And this one here is fourths. So what does it look like when we do 12s? Let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wow. Now on this side, we have 3/4. So I'm going to, and yes, I know I accidentally, usually I do my first fraction vertically. I didn't do that. So what I did is I shifted my second model so I would have it the same. Okay. So there's 5/12 and 3/4. Now let's shade them in. Now over here is easy. Oh no. On my red. There's my red. Okay. So there's 3/4. You're going to ignore that little black bar up top. Over here we had 5/12. 1, there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now for this one, we're going to take our fourths to our thirds, or 12ths, I mean. So there's I'm splitting into halves. Now I'm splitting into fourths. Over here now I got to do my 12s. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it gets difficult once you're getting to these large denominators like this. Oh no, keep forgetting to switch color when I'm filling them in. All right, so now we're ready for our equivalent fractions. We can see this one here, it was a 4/12. So that's going to be 48, okay, as a total. So we know the denominators are 48. Now I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 4. So I know this one here was equivalent to 20 48s. On this one here, we know it's going to be 48, but it was 1, 2, 3 by 12s. So that's going to be 36 48s. We add these two together, we're going to get 56. Oh, excuse me, we're not adding them together. we're subtracting them. So now we have 1 and 20/48, and we want to subtract 36/48. Now, can I take 36/48 from 20/48? No. So I have to convert this. My 1 here, if you remember, that's actually 48/48 for one whole plus 20/48. So when I convert that, when I add them together, now I actually have 68/48 to subtract 36/48 from it. Now let's come up here, 68 minus 36. We can see we have 32. So our answer would end up being 32/48. And we're not going to reduce that one. We just know that that's 32/48. So Dwight sold 32/48. Now, they wanted to know who sold more lemonade, Jim or Dwight. Well, let's compare them. In order to compare them, we need to do some reducing. And I'm going to do it this way, 32/48. And I want to see if I can get 4s out of them. Because I know this would be 32 is 4 times 8. And 48 is going to be 4 times 12. Take them out. Now I'm down to 8/12. Well, I see I can still take 4s out. I go 2 times 4 here and 3 times 4 for 12. So I left it to 2/3. So I know this is also equal to 2/3. Now, which one is larger, 3/4 or 2/3? Well, 3/4 would be equal to 75%. 2/3 would be equal to 66%. So Jim sold more. Now it says how much more. I don't know why my pen isn't working very well right now. So now in order to figure out who sold how much more, we have 3/4 since that's the larger one, minus 2/3. Now, hopefully by now, a lot of y'all are seeing the connection, where the way we get a common denominator, get a better one, common denominator, when we're making our blocks, we're actually just taking 4 times 3, we're multiplying the denominators, and that is 12. And then up top, we got 3 times 3, because we have to multiply both 3/4 top and bottom by 3. So we end up with, I lost my pen, there we go. 3 times 3 would be 9. So 3/4 would be equal to 9/12 plus 2/3. I'd have to multiply the bottom by 4, so I have to multiply the top by 4, which would be 17. It would be 8/12. And remember, we're subtracting, not adding. I put the wrong one in there. So when I subtract them now, 9 minus 8 gives us 1/12. Now notice there's a lot going on in this problem. So without the tape diagram, in the next lesson, we're going to start getting away from the models, because we're really getting to the point where models are not the most efficient method to solve this. So how much more did he sell? He actually sold, where's my pen? There it is. He sold 1/12 more. All right. Now, I hope you agree there was a lot going on with that last problem. Now, there's no way that we could have solved that without doing a tape diagram. And because you can see the models, they're starting to get hard to do when you get in these large denominators, okay? So we are, in the next couple lessons, we're going to start moving from the models to more of the abstract, where we just do numbers like I showed you toward the end there, okay? All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.